ladies and gentlemen, Group Captain Jason Easthope, former CO of 77 Squadron, taxiing out now, and I have the pleasure and privilege of introducing Wing Commander Paul Simmons, standing beside me. I've seen a number of displays of this aircraft. I saw the first display down at Adelaide at the Grand Prix with Mark Binskin, but it was really you that fleshed out the display and made it what it is today. And Eastie out here is going to be the last public display pilot for the aircraft. So I've seen the start, the middle and the end. Over to you.
Thanks, Ando, and ladies and gents, it's an absolute honour and privilege to be with you today and to be able to commentate for the last public Classic Hornet display. It's ironic, so Eastie and I are great mates. Cuz, he goes by Cuz, as well as his middle name, which is Malu, just to let some stuff out of the bag. One of the finest pilots I've ever had the privilege of flying with, and today, especially under the weather conditions that we have, it is an opportunity for him to take the jet out. It's getting right at the end of its life and take it to the skid pan and go nuts, which is what we're going to witness shortly.
That display some of you may or may not have seen this morning, that was absolutely brilliant. We've got a little bit of rain coming in here now, but this one is the very last one and it will be brilliant as well. What's it like to have flown the Hornet and operated the aircraft in all sorts of different environments?
Well, it is a phenomenal aircraft, and when we bought the aircraft back in 1984 and 85 and introduced it, it was the first time that we had an aircraft that we could digitally upgrade, and we could put a whole lot of new weapon systems on incrementally as they become available. The irony of watching Eastie today, and if you were to look in the cockpit, it still looks relatively modern, and the performance of the aircraft is still outstanding in its maneuverability, and especially in this is its sport configuration, no external stores. And as we saw earlier with the F-35, the F-35, as you saw it displayed today with Bunga, is operating in its combat configuration. Today, this is as light and clean as you're going to see an F-18 display, and so we do see it certainly phenomenally maneuverable. But it is an honour, and here is Eastie opening the taps for the last time here at Wollongong and for a public display. So he's rotating at about 140 knots. He'll hold it down, the gear will come up. And he's getting about 30 knots a second. Just for a pod check, and he's going to set up for his first pass, which is going to come from behind us, doing what we call a low-level awareness training letdown into a max performance pull. The aircraft pulls a lot of angle of attack, so today we're going to see Eastie fast. When you see the whole wing covered with cloud, that is when Eastie will be pulling north of 6G. When you see just the cloud around the cockpit and down over the tails, he's at a high angle of attack, back above 35 degrees angle of attack. So ladies and gents, he's going to roll in. He's probably only doing about 300 knots at the moment. You see him lower the nose. You see the afterburners come in, and now he's going to go for a max performance. You'll see the cloud off just the inside of the aeroplane. He's pretty slow. He was bleeding 70 knots a second as he pulled the aircraft up into the vertical, and now he's putting about 25 to 30 knots a second. He'll come back to the show center at about 400 knots and enter a 7.5 G, what we would call a G limited turn. Working kind of hard right now to stay awake. He might power modulate here just a bit. You'll hear the noise drop down. He's just managing energy so he can return to the show line. He's got the stick full back at the moment and he'll be at 7.5 G. We're now going to see a minimum radius turn, so this time DC will come back to the show at about 320 knots. And as he does the 360-degree turn, you'll notice it's tighter but slower. It's getting about 20 degrees a second in turn rate at the moment. And he'll be pulling about 5.5 G, and he's managing his alpha. You'll hear the noise will go away. He's going to do the configured pass. So the aircraft speed limit's at 250 knots for the gear down and about 2 G. He's going to return to the line with he'll have the flaps down, the gear down, the hook down, and the speed brake out. This is the landing mode of the aircraft, and it actually changes the flight control logic and changes the way the aircraft actually handles for us as the pilot. And it's the only time when we fly the aircraft we have actually got to trim the elevator. Beastie's going to give us a little wave as he comes past. As he pulls away from the crowd, you can see he's not pulling hard. He's looking for energy at the moment. He's going to reposition back around for a high-speed pass. You'll see him pulling the angle of attack there. He's at about 30. And now he's going to ease the jet, looking for energy as he comes back to the show center. It doesn't look like it. This is actually one of the hardest parts of this plane to fly. So you set the aircraft up at slow speed for the high angle of attack pass. The aircraft's able to sustain 55 degrees angle of attack. We only use 25 at 500 feet, and the reason for that is if we have an engine failure at this point, East is able to bunt the aircraft to reduce the angle of attack to counteract the yaw that he's got, and he would recover the aircraft at 200 feet above the ground. So he's about 118 to 122 knots. Ground speed will probably be about 100 with this wind. So whilst it's slow, it's only half what the aircraft's capable of. Often when we fly, we'll get back to about 75 to 80 knots, and it's nice that angle of setting up for the high-speed pass, so he's just going to ease the aircraft out, give himself a little bit of room, and he'll return to show line in the order of 550 knots, or about 0.9 of the speed of sound. At this point, 400 knots, the jet's at its best energy addition rate. It'll be putting about 40 knots a second on at the moment. He's working hard to stay awake at the moment. He's going to reposition around for his next pass prior to setting up for a low approach. If you want to know what a skid pan in a jet looks like, this is it. power back. The aircraft's actually quite slippery in this configuration. It's just going to slow the aircraft down, use G and angled attack to do that, as he sets up for a configured pass to do a low approach onto the runway 16 here. As Eastie turns pace, you'll see him at about 100 feet. He'll retract the gear and flap and accelerate down the strip. By the time he gets to the middle of the strip, he will have accelerated from about 125 knots up to about 330 knots, and then you'll see him enter a max performance angled attack turn, and he'll go from 330 knots back to about 200 knots in about 3 seconds of pull with the aircraft. Waiting for the gear and flap because the burner accelerates so quickly. But ladies and gentlemen, enjoy the last close corner. If you want to get your cameras ready as Eastie returns for the final show pass, which is going to be the bombing run. There'll be some pyrotechnics and some great photos on show. Probably some noise as well.
This is your last chance, ladies and gentlemen, to get that special photo, the last fly past by the F-18. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together.
How good was that?
Simo, very appropriate and fitting that you did it.
Thank you, Ando. It's an absolute honour to have been associated with this aeroplane now for nearly 30 years and have flown it so much. Great honour to watch a great mate of mine, Eastie, do a phenomenal show. And ladies and gentlemen, we hope you enjoyed that on behalf of the Royal Australian Air Force.
Well, about 3,200 hours you have Hornet time?
I do, yeah, 3,200 Hornet.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Group Captain Easthope and also Wing Commander Paul Simmons. That great, it's nothing like a person who knows what he's talking about giving you a description. Thanks, Paul. That was it, ladies and gentlemen. That was our last display. But as Eastie brings the aircraft back in, as we said, started flying Skyhawks with the Royal New Zealand Air Force, went over, flew with the RAAF back to the RAAF. When he's taxiing in, the canopy's open. Give him a great wave and a round of applause, because that is the last time that you will see a demonstration by the FA-18 Hornets. What a wonderful place to do it here at Wings Over the Illawarra.
In addition to being the last display of the F-18, it's also the last time that the Air Force will be able to marshal this aircraft in. And with the bats, we have LAC Smith. Give us a wave. Now he is known as AKA Disco Damo. So we're not quite sure exactly what he's going to demonstrate when he marshals this aircraft in, but we'll see.
Well, he's got the moves. Big wave, ladies and gentlemen. What a fantastic demonstration and a great description by Simo. I said there's nothing like somebody who knows what they're talking about giving a description of that. And not only has he seen it, but he has also done it. He was the guy that fleshed out this demonstration. So today we have actually not really seen Mark Binskin, but he was there flying the Canberra. He was the first demonstration pilot. Simo fleshed out the display, and now we have Eastie.
Now just look at the technique there with the bats. Alex E. Smith was an armament technician, and Eastie was his CO at 75 Squadron. Great technique there, great technique.